Robert Jaeger. Tutaj Rob przygotował dla nas najpierw 2 filmiki. On po prostu zrobi kilka słów wstępu. Co to są za filmiki?
Hello, Pixel Heaven. Before I start, I want to thank Pixel Heaven, everyone involved here, Robert Lipinski, Thomas for driving me around, and especially the Atari community of Poland. Not for you guys, I wouldn't be here. I have 2 videos to share with you guys today. The first one is going to be the first look at the director's cut. Now this is, you guys, I know a lot of you are familiar with the story of Montezuma, that the preliminary Montezuma was leaked before the actual Parker Brothers release was out there. Now the preliminary Montezuma was what I was working on. It was supposed to be a huge production. It was designed for a loaded Atari computer. Parker Brothers said, don't worry about that, we're going to reduce the game, you don't need to finish it, and in fact we're going to have to take things out. So they took out the bat, they reduced everything, they did a great job making it fit into 16K, but the game was designed to have a boss, to have a lot more elements, a lot more interesting rooms too. In the Parker Brothers version, as you get deeper into the pyramid becomes less interesting. And the reason for that is that I never completed the lower areas of the pyramid. They just released it. So the other video, I have 2 videos. I'm going to show you the first look at director's cut, and the other video that I'm going to show is the first look at the modernized console version of the game. I signed a deal last year to do a totally updated version of Montezuma for all the modern consoles and Steam and whatever else can actually handle this type of thing. And a larger production studio is doing it, but I do have creative control and approval of everything. So you want to start with the videos? Okay, so I guess we'll start with the video. This is the sneak preview video on the flash drive. Every room is going to be different. This is a new feature. These buttons, activator buttons, that give you extra jumping powers, but some of these activators do things in addition, such as making the pots explode. They can reverse the directions of the elevators. They can turn bridges on and off. They do different things in different rooms. The player needs to figure it out. New gems, the rings are new, some new goodies to grab. Yeah, this is the darkness effect. In both Montezuma's, darkness is just pure black, which I never intended to release like that. This is a room that has, in some cases, I'm taking some liberties. I'm trying to keep things as faithful as possible to the Atari computers, but I've bent the rules in a few places. And here's the first look at the boss sequence.
This time you have to kill Montezuma. Yeah? Roll.
That's it. Thank you.
And now the second. The second video.
You want to see should I do the second video now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to show the second video now, which is the first look at the really modernized version. That was the YouTube video. Working title, the 40th Anniversary Edition. This is going to be out on Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, and whatever other major platforms can support it. Now, I also hope to include the retro version with the modernized version. In this version, you get to choose a female character or Pedro. So it's still going to be a 2D platformer with 3D rendered graphics. There's going to be a whole lot of new features, a whole lot of new things, but I'm going to keep the spirit of the game. Keep in mind, this is a really early look. Underwater effects. Thank you.
I was watching not only these movies, but also your face. You look very proud. Is it?
Thank you. Yes, I am proud of it. The director's cut is really pretty much my code. I'm doing all the coding on that myself, and I'm also doing all the 8-bit graphics myself too. So I do have some people helping me with the director's cut, and the 40th, the modernized version is a separate studio working on that all together. But I have total creative control over that. So, but as far as for the director's cut version, I will not allow anyone to work on the character, the picture character, all the animations. I'm doing that myself. I'm doing all the coding on the bosses, and I have some help on level design, and I'll be bringing in some help on music and audio on the project.
When you use a time machine, can you tell us something about your roots? When you start in childhood programming and designing levels, how it was?
Sure. I started very young. I was an arcade kid. So I was always...
How old?
Okay, I started programming when I was 11 years old. Yeah, on the Valley House arcade was my first console, and I wanted that one because it had a good basic cartridge. It had the ability to create games. So I created a few arcade clones for that system. And then when the Atari computer came out, that was it for me, because I was a huge Atari fan, and that was the home computer that was really designed for games. So that's when I really dove headfirst into game design. I wrote a couple arcade clones in the early 80s. One was called Chomper, which was a Pac-Man clone. And another one was Pinhead, which was a clone of Kickback by Maui. And I started working on a new project, and I created a little man, and I had him jump, and I was thinking, yeah, similar to Mario, have a little guy, and I was sitting there with my friend Mark Sunshine, and I said, I don't want to copy a game, I don't want to do another clone, I want to do something original. And he just said, hey, why don't you make a game with a Mexican theme and call it Montezuma's Revenge? Now, a lot of people don't know that Montezuma's Revenge was like the slang name for the bacterial infection you would get from drinking the water in Mexico. So it was, back then, people would go to Mexico, they don't drink the water because we get sick, and you get terrible diarrhea from drinking the water. So that was Montezuma's Revenge, but it seems like my game has kind of taken a small tiny little paragraph of pop culture. So there's a lot of people that associate Montezuma's Revenge with my game and didn't know the phrase existed for a long time before that. So I started working on Montezuma when I was 15 years old, and it was about 6 months. I locked myself in my bedroom and didn't leave, and came out with what we now know as the preliminary Montezuma. And I had a little production company called Utopia Software that was producing my Kickman clone Pinhead. So I had a small booth at the Consumer Electronics Show in 1983 to demonstrate, to show my Montezuma game and to show Pinhead. So as we saw that at the Consumer Electronics Show, the Parker Brothers people kept coming over to take a look at Montezuma, and they spoke to me and my father at the time. I was 15. And they said, we're interested in this game. And sure enough, we licensed it to them, and they created about 8 or 9 different versions for all the popular game consoles and computers of the time. And the rest is basically your Atari history. About 10 years ago, I decided to revive the brand. I came out with an iOS version, and it was followed by an Android version, and now it's supported by about 9 different platforms. Steam, it's available on iArcade. I have quite a few other platforms in the works. And I'm really excited about finishing the game that I started 40 years ago. So with a little luck and a little help from friends, we should be able to get it done by December of this year.
So I'm a great fan of finishing projects that have taken like 30, 40 years to complete. And I'm very honored to talk to you because you're like a rock star, you're very popular.
Thank you.
Millions of people.
Do you feel like a rock star now?
But the question is, when you lock yourself out for 6 months, like you say, to write and finish the preliminary Monte and then Montezuma's Revenge, did you dream in code? Did you sleep when you were sleeping? Did you see the code?
It's funny you say that. When you're working on a program all the time, it comes to you in dreams. And I remember when I was working on Chomper, the Pac-Man clone, I had a dream that I was basically Pac-Man. And I mean, I was the character in a 3D Pac-Man maze. And yeah, it's such I'm sure most people know, game design is very tedious. It's a lot of work and it's a whole lot of hours watching the same thing over and over, trying to track down a bug. So yeah, your mind does get programmed and it does come to you in dream space.
Do you find it easy or difficult to come back to the old code?
Well, here's the thing. It's difficult because I want it to be as authentic as possible. So I don't remember everything that I did. And so it's a question of reinventing what I already did. So, what we do is we look at it in slow motion and we see exactly the number of seconds it takes to do this, and how the animation looks, and I'm doing my best to make it that same experience that people had playing the Atari version of the game. That same interactivity, never, I mean, of course I'm doing retro programming, and it's important to me for the guys working on the console version to never have any type of choppiness, or absolutely keep things 60 frames a second no matter what. So one thing I never tolerated was choppiness or flickering in graphics, and I'm going to hold to that, of course, with this production.
Like how your parents and friends treat you, like a wonderful kid, a genius to programming in the age of 11.
I'm certainly not a genius in other areas. For some reason, I took to computer programming very naturally. And I've met other natural computer programmers who don't necessarily have a very strong education or any formal training, that just, for some reason, can code very, very well. And I've also, in my work, I've met many people who are absolute geniuses in many, many areas, including math, including science, who simply cannot write code. So it's like a highly specialized area of thinking that not everyone could do, and not everyone is a genius who can do.
But did you start learning from assembler, or it was a
Well, yes. I mean, I started with BASIC, but I knew right away that BASIC wasn't good enough to do what I needed to do. So on the Valley Astrocade, it allowed you to do machine language subroutines. So you actually entered in the hexadecimal, and you were able to call little functions. So you put the graphic intensive subroutines in machine language, and the rest in BASIC. And at that time, that was the 80 on the Astrocade, but I quickly moved over to 6502 with the Atari, and I absolutely loved programming 6502 assembly language. It was awesome, and it was fun, doing things that very few people, or in some cases no one has done before on a machine. So it's. Low-level coding is a lot of fun. All the work that I do now, though, is C++.
Did you spend a lot of time in front of computer, or your parents push you to go outside, for example?
My parents, I credit my parents for having a lot of confidence in me as a young person, and supported me. Now, as we all know, the Atari computer expensive. You know, if my father didn't support it, if he didn't buy me an Atari computer when I was 14 years old, I would.
Which one it was?
It was the 800. So all the work that I've done was on the Atari 800.
About $2,000, I suppose.
It was $850, and then it was like another $700 for the disk drive. You know, it was very expensive in 1982 money. Or even now it's expensive for a home console.
Did you have a disk drive or?
Oh yeah. I used a Percom double-sided, double-density disk drive to do Montezuma because I ran out of space for the source code on a standard drive. So the source code to Montezuma, because at the time you needed to have the whole program in memory to assemble. I was running out of memory for the source code, so I had to take all my variables and reduce them to little abbreviations. So the original source code to Montezuma is in very rough shape because I was stuck with the limitations of not having a linker for linking at that time, and having a super limited memory to work with.
And who drove everything? Who designed levels? You?
Oh, the original Montezuma? I did everything. Yes, on the original Montezuma.
So how Mark was involved?
Mark?
Mark.
No, Mark came up with the name Montezuma's Revenge. Like, it just flew out of his mouth when I said, "What should I do next?" And I'm like, I'll do that.
Right.
So he said to me, "I just want credit. Will you give me credit for this?" And I said to Mark, if I'm going to give myself credit for creating this, I'm going to give you credit for the concept of Montezuma's Revenge. So whenever I credit myself, I credit Mark also. And he's a good friend and a tremendous artist. He contributed to the art in the reboot. He did the characters, the modernized Montezuma characters, and he's a terrific musician too.
So, next question. Was your first assembler the assembler editor cartridge, or did you start?
It was the assembler cartridge, and then I moved. There was another one that was, I forgot, was it Mac?
One was Asthma 2. Asthma 2.
Yeah, it started off with the cartridge, and then I ran out of space, and I needed the better assembler. So I moved over to that. I remember Synapse Software also had an assembler. And I tried, I couldn't get Montezuma to compile with that either, it was too big. But yeah, the one that you mentioned was the assembler that I eventually wound up using.
And that was the Mac 65, did you use it?
Yeah, I believe that was the assembler that I eventually wound up using.
So is it a good memory when you look at the scope today? Does it invoke a good memory?
Well, I really don't. It's been a while since I've actually looked at the assembly code of Montezuma. One thing I want to mention is that the director's cut, I know a lot of people here are Atari computer people. I absolutely plan on making this an Atari cartridge. Originally, I know I did tell people that I'm planning on releasing it first on the Atari. Plans have changed. It looks like it's most likely going to be released on Steam first. But I will likely do another Kickstarter for the Atari version of this. So keep your eyes open for that. By the way, my social media, I use Facebook mainly for social media, so it's Montezuma's Revenge Game, Facebook/Montezuma's Revenge Game is where you would get your best news on what I'm doing with the game.
So I have a question, do you still can code 640 assembler?
Well, I haven't in a long time, but I think if I needed to,
you need 1 hour, okay.
I need an hour to refresh my memory. Yeah. A, X, Y, tax.
Exactly.
J and Z. It's been a long time.
And some illegal codes too.
We can try after interview, you know. So, what was next? Because you sold your Montezuma's Revenge to Parker Brothers.
Right, well, it was a license. It was very interesting. It was a license deal. It wasn't a sale. I had very good legal representation as a kid, and my lawyer was insistent. And it's a good thing he did, because I wouldn't be here now. I mean, I wouldn't be working on updates.
How did you find your lawyer?
Well, this is my father is a businessman, so my father is my business mentor, and it was his connection. So the contract that we signed was very clear as a license, and we got the rights back from them.
So you was very professional in the age of 15.
I was 16 when the deal was signed. Yeah.
And how many copies they sold?
I have no idea. I don't know the grand total. But I mean, the vast majority of people who have the game, and I understand the political situation here in Poland, didn't really have a choice. You couldn't buy an official copy.
So you got money only for a sign on a contract, yeah? Not for copies, from copies?
No, I had a very nice deal with Parker Brothers, where I got royalties on all the versions, on everything. But I did not become rich. People think, I have a Parker Brothers game that everyone knows that I should be wealthy. It's not nearly as much money as people think. And quite frankly, the retro business, doing retro games, it's a very tough business. It's very hard to do this full time. Most people that are involved in retro gaming do it for fun, and that's kind of how it needs to be done. There's not big profits. Last year we did the Nintendo Entertainment System version. We did a Kickstarter for it, and it was very successful. We raised like 30% more than what we asked for, but at the time, I was expecting to raise triple the amount that we asked for.
So you didn't buy a Ferrari or Porsche at the time?
We had so much good luck, in the sense we had so much support on the Kickstarter. We had every influencer from the 8-Bit Guy, Metal Jesus, John Briggs, John Hancock did full videos promoting the Nintendo version of Montezuma. So we couldn't have asked for more help and more support from the community. But the truth is, the sales just weren't great, because the demand outside of, let's say, Poland and Chile, it's just not very, very strong. And by the way, the programmer of the Nintendo version is right in the front row filming me. That's Philippe Renaud, wonderful programmer, wonderful person, and he's here. Yeah. Oh, I also want to shout out a couple members of the Polish Atari community. Peter Bendek, XTD, did the music that you heard on the director's cut right there. That was done by the Atari community of Poland, and Raphael.
You talk about Christopher now.
No. I'm talking about XTD. This is Peter Bendek, who is a terrific composer. And I have Raphael Dudek, who's a terrific artist, who did the modernized graphics of the reboot.
Graphic,
backgrounds. He's a wonderful artist. I've had lots of help in beta testing among the Atari community. The Atari community in Poland has been a terrific help to me over the last couple of years. Thank you.
So when you back with idea of restart Montezuma again, I suppose in 90s, yeah?
No, it was around 2000, I guess 2003, I believe, the iOS version. I neglected Montezuma for a long time. I kind of quit the games business in the crash in the 80s. The games crash in 1983, 1984 was devastating to me. I was very lucky to get Montezuma in before the crash, because Parker Brothers, they closed shop, and so many companies just stopped selling games because it was no longer profitable. And I left the business to work in the financial industry, and I worked creating financial software for many years. but I went back to games after a number of years. When I was working on Wall Street in New York City, I started up another game company, and I was doing coin-operated games, coin-operated bar-top games, and I had a lot of success in that area. And then we worked on there was an ill-fated sequel to Montezuma in the 90s called Montezuma's Return. We worked on that product, which was technically wonderful, but it was definitely not a hit of a game. But the technology, 3D graphics, was one of the first full motion, 6 degrees of freedom 3D rendering engines. The problem was Quake came out a month or two before us, and Quake, I mean, is absolutely phenomenal, and they kind of stole our thunder.
Rob, because I know that you like questions from audience.
Yeah, I think I think we're going to have some questions from the audience.
Yeah, only 10 minutes left.
Okay.
I know. So if someone has questions, ja podejdę.
Hi Rob, thanks for being here. I have a question. Do you know, can you tell us more about the details of leaking the Montezuma, the preliminary version? How it happened? Was it leaked by Parker Brothers when you showing them? Or
I assume that it was leaked by Parker Brothers because I held it really, really tight. Yeah, it had to be released. It had to be released by someone at Parker Brothers, and it's unfortunate because you know, it was released, you know, before the official version. So I would say probably between 100 and 1,000 pirated copies exist for everyone that was purchased. Maybe a lot more. It's very, very possible. But that preliminary Montezuma that's my baby. That's the game. I always regretted that Montezuma was released without a boss, without a finale after all of this exploration and puzzle solving. So I'm really looking forward to finishing up Director's Cut and having you guys, that version of Montezuma being the primary version, the main version of Montezuma.
Another question?
Hello, I just like to ask about the protagonist's name. Is it Pedro?
Yes.
Or is it Panama Joe?
Yeah, okay. The character has a lot of names. Pedro is the name that you see in the preliminary version, and that's the name I'm sticking with. Parker Brothers, they made a couple modifications to the character. They wanted it to be a little more like Indiana Jones. And they changed the name originally to Panama Jack, and then someone told them that there's a suntan lotion company called Panama Jack, so they changed it to Panama Joe. And I never really cared for that name, and Pedro is the original character with the sombrero, and that's the character who is in Director's Cut and in the reboot that's currently available. Thanks for asking that question.
Hi, are you going to reveal the original source code in the future of Montezuma? Or part of the source code?
The source code, I mentioned before, the source code is in bad shape. I don't even know if I could read the original Montezuma source code. It has, of course, it has been disassembled and, you know, evaluated and examined, and, you know, with intelligent disassemblers that has everything labeled. So I would imagine that there's probably a version of the Montezuma source code out there somewhere that's in far better shape than my version of the Montezuma source code. I only recently found the diskettes. I only recently found the original backup of the Montezuma source code diskettes. And I have it on, this is on IBM PC format, I have it saved, but it's a 5 1/4 floppy disk, so it's very hard to find 5 1/4 floppy disks on IBM systems. And they're actually like a collector's item right now. So I would need one of those to get the source code off. So I haven't looked at it in 40 years, but I know it's not great.
Have you finished your game as a player?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Have you finished your game as a player?
To play, I'm not a great games player. I wish I was. When I play, I have to enable every single cheat that there is. So I have, fortunately, two guys who work for me or have worked for me are probably top 10 players in the world. And they're the ones that do the videos, do the gameplay videos that you see, and all of the walkthroughs and all of the gameplay. I wish I was a better game player. I've never been all that good at playing games.
I have to ask, do you still have your Atari?
No, I don't. I wish I sold it. Believe it or not, I sold it when times were tough. I sold my old equipment, and I'm sure it exists somewhere. The original Atari 800 that I wrote Montezuma on has something special about it. It has a Cadillac car logo from a real Cadillac. A real emblem was bonded onto the system itself. So if anyone knows an Atari 800 with a Cadillac badge on it, that was the one that I wrote Montezuma on.
Hello, Rob. Can we expect the level editor for original Montezuma in the future?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Can we expect the level editor in Montezuma?
I'm sorry.
Can we expect the level editor for all of us to original Montezuma?
I don't say the level of detail,
Level maker.
Oh, level maker. Oh. I got to be honest. That's not part of the plan right now. But it's not a bad idea. It would be nice to have that. Right now, the way I create levels is I actually use GIMP. I use a graphics editor, and I just bring it down to 40 by 25 characters, and so I'm actually designing levels in a very primitive way. That's how we're doing the work. So we don't have a really great user-friendly level designer, but it would be good to have. And I'm sure if I don't do it, I mean, someone in the community will. Well, when you say for the modern for the director's cut, you mean, or for the
eventually for modern version. This one for iOS or PC Steam.
Oh, okay. When we talk about the what we're calling the 40th anniversary edition, I'll certainly bring it up with the development staff, and I will say my good friend Michael suggested it. And it's a good idea to have. It's nice to have level editors. But right now, I mean, I'm as small of a shop as can be, and right now I'm really focusing on getting the game done this year. So things like level editors and extra things are things that would probably be best for future products. Once the game is released, and actually it's a good way to keep interest in the game and keep it alive.
Rob, I suppose I'm afraid we have no time.
We have no time.
Only 2 questions, right?
Okay.
Robert, you are aware that here we in Poland played the leaked version of your demo version, and the Atari computers in Poland are PAL versions that are slightly slower than NTSC. And so I was really surprised once I got my first NTSC machine to play Montezuma's Revenge version. Music plays faster, and also I think I enjoyed more the NTSC version. And I wondered what are the plans for the cartridge final version.
Okay, this is interesting.
Rob, sorry, I need to interrupt you. First, we have to add that guy has nickname Montezuma. It's very important. All right. Now, answer your question.
I forgot the question. The PAL. Yes, I keep forgetting that you guys played the PAL version, not the NTSC version. So we're talking about 20% slower. It's a big difference. And I gotta be honest, I've never played the PAL version. And I know that Poland, all of Europe was playing PAL. So I really should add the option in the modern versions to slow things down if people want to experience the way they experienced it here. But yeah, I mean, it is a big difference. I would imagine it would be a little bit easier to play in slower motion. But it's a difficult game.
Okay, last question.
Hello, Mr. Robert. It's an honor to have you here. Thank you for coming. One question about possible intro to a game. There was a preliminary Monty, and Montezuma's Revenge had slightly different beginnings because one was slided down and one was entering from the side. Do you plan such sort of intro entering the pyramid, perhaps, or somewhat of this type in the new version of the refresh version?
Okay, when Parker Brothers told me they were going to reduce the game, I knew for certain they were cutting all of that out, and that's what they did. So the Parker Brothers version just starts off with the game. The original version, my version of the game, was very inspired by the coin-op world. So every coin-operated game has what we call an attract mode, which runs when people aren't playing, so people can look at the game, learn how to play the game, and attract people to play the game. So that's what that was. That was an attract mode where it spells out revenge and it shows patriot. I really liked that because I loved coin-operated arcade games. So I knew that was going to go away. The music that you hear in the introduction, that Spanish Flea by Herb Alpert, I never wanted that released because it's not original music. That was placeholder music to demo the music engine that I created for Montezuma, which was also, I guess, totally edited out of the Parker Brothers version. So, what I had in mind when I first started writing Montezuma was the largest, greatest game ever made for the Atari. Thank you.